Rock the Ripple. Rock the Ripple. The Rock the Ripple podcast with Narita McInnes.
Let's do this. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Rock the Ripple podcast. I'm your host, Narita McInnes. It is so awesome to be here with you as always. And as always today, I'm very excited because I have another very special guest. She is a Bowen Therapist, former midwife, certified massage therapist, Birthlight Yoga Teacher, Level 2 Reiki Practitioner, a Teacher of Fascial Kinetics, and a QHHT, Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique, hypnosis therapist. And she is also an incredible singer with a magical, magical voice. There is, of course, so much more to this incredible woman. She is the one and only beautiful inside and out, Sarah Seagar. Sarah, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm blown away. I'm like, she's been on my website.
I stalked you, woman. Yes, I did. Oh, but like far out, what a list of stuff. Like, bloody hell, woman, you've just probably not slept your entire life to be able to be doing all of this.
I've had 49 years. There's plenty of time.
Oh, I love it. And everything that you do is just so good. So look, as you know, with a podcast, for people, I mean, I know we've done a bit of an intro here, but for people who might not know you, who is Sarah Seagar?
But all of those things, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I've got a lovely husband. I've got two wonderful children who are pretty well grown. Yeah, I like knitting. I'm pretty boring, actually. I have quite a quiet life, but I have a very rich inner life.
Love that.
So yeah.
And you're in Auckland, aren't you?
I am in Auckland.
Yes. Yeah. Hence the accent. I tried to do an accent that didn't even sound like New Zealand. I just went to, what's accent, Narita?
I was laughing because my husband used to say, when he was in Australia, that everyone would go, oh, Kiwi.
Fish and chips is what they'd say, isn't it? Yes. Sucks. Yeah.
But I'm so used to the Australian accent that I don't even really kind of tune out that there's a difference, really.
Well, actually, I remember when I was coming home from like a around the world trip years and years ago, and I hadn't been to New Zealand, but had to just fly through New Zealand on the way back. And I was listening to the TV or something in the airport, and I was like, oh my gosh, because I'd been to America. So the contrast, I was like, oh my gosh, us Aussies, we actually sound pretty much like Kiwis, really. And so I was just, it was one of those things, you know what I mean? So, yeah. So look, okay, enough about accents. Let's get on to all this incredible shit that you do, which is, of course, a technical term, which, of course, I use a lot. But, I mean, Bowen Therapist, you were a former midwife. You're also doing quantum healing hypnosis, which I have experienced that a number of times in the past, and it is so powerful. I mean, I just want to hear about them all, so I don't know where to start. You take it away.
I'll give you a timeline. So I started as a midwife.
Okay, cool. Yes, let's do that. Thank you. I'm glad you're here.
I started as a midwife. When I had my son, I wasn't sure what I was going to do, but when I got pregnant and met a student midwife and just the whole pregnancy thing, I was like, oh, I could do this. Wow. Like, this is something I'm really interested in. And my mother said, oh, just wait till you have the baby, thinking I'll change my mind with the labor. But actually, it just confirmed it for me. And so that's kind of the path I went down in terms of, I knew I had this child that I had to support, and I was in a relationship with his dad, and that wasn't easy. And I just never felt like I could rely on him to provide for us. So I knew that I had to do something because I wanted to be, I wanted to also be my own person. So that was just the path that came to me. And actually, when I think about it, well, I know that I was probably a midwife in lots of lives. So it probably was going to happen regardless. And then I did that for about 16 years, and I actually gave up my practicing certificate in 2020, March of 2020, which is just in time so that I didn't have to deal with all of the stuff that was happening around COVID. But in 2016, I'd already done massage and the Birthlight yoga stuff. Like that was all kind of along the way. I had people around me who wanted to teach, and I was always open to learning. And I did massage thinking I wanted to help more people, because I would go into houses and a lot of times it would be the old people in the house would come and say, "Oh, miss, I've got a sore back." And I'd be like, "Oh, God, I really want to do something for you, but I don't know what to do." And I did massage thinking that would be something I could offer as a bit of, more assistance to people. But you can't get a pregnant woman oily and naked on a bed and do an antenatal appointment. So it just wasn't working. But I did discover how much I really loved working more with my hands. And I think that's one of the things about being a midwife is you're feeling with your hands all the time. So in 2016, I went for a walk at the beginning of the year, and I was like, this is the year. I've just got to do something this year. I've got to do something different. I want to be able to do more. And I was walking home and saw a sign for Bowen therapy and went home and typed it up, and Fascial Kinetics came up on the computer, and I had loved the fascial release stuff with massage. I found that to be really profound. So I looked it up, found a course that I could do in August that year. And then as soon as I started, I was like, I think this is me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And you just followed that nudge and seeing that sign. Like that's listening. That's really listening.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was really, I'd never tried Bowen therapy when I went and did the course.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So you haven't even had a session?
No, but there were 4 of us, and only one of us had actually tried it before. So there was, a real call to come into it for people who had never tried. Everyone had done massage before, but it wasn't really meeting the need. And as I went through the course, I had a really great teacher, and he had a lot of wisdom. And as I went through the course and just experienced what was happening in my body and how much healing was taking place and how much it made sense to me, I was like, I just don't want to do anything else, because I can see how quickly it could change things. And then I started to use it, because you have to have so many case studies. In my midwifery practice, I had all these women who needed physiotherapy referrals because they were having pain or trouble. And ordinarily you're like, well, I just have to refer you because that's all I can do about that. And those referrals were taking up to 4 months in the public system. So when I started having the Bowen to work with, I could do 5 minutes of Bowen in an antenatal appointment, and they could feel better by the time they got to their car.
Wow.
So I had people who didn't need to see a physio. I mean, the referral still went through, but they weren't going to get that until after the baby was born. So that was amazing. Then what was more amazing was the amount of women that I worked with who were from like a really wide variety of ethnic backgrounds, and how often they feel unheard and dismissed within the house system. And so suddenly it transformed my relationship with all these women, because as soon as I put my hands on them and started to do something to address the thing they were telling me about, they were so much happier, and they felt so much closer to me. I felt closer to them, and they felt closer to me. And then it just went on. It was like, breastfeeding and helping babies to breastfeed when, there's all these people going, oh, tongue tie, and you've got to cut the tongue. And there's so many complications around doing that. And actually, there's this amazing woman, I can't remember her name now, who's actually Australian. And she's a body worker. And she did this whole thing on babies with breastfeeding problems. And 7 out of 10 of them had like a neck and head pain or jaw pain. Really? And so it was really as simple as doing some body work, releasing that for the baby and allowing them then to get on and do instinctively what they can do. So, yeah, I mean, it just went, it was like everything. All the midwives needed Bowen, all the mothers needed Bowen, all the babies needed Bowen. And yeah, and then eventually I was like, I'm working nights and weekends and getting paid really terrible money, and I'm doing 2 jobs, and I don't have to do that. I can do it from home. So eventually I just went, yeah, I'm going to stay home and do it there.
Wow. Wow, that's so cool. And I guess a question that some people might have is like, what actually is Bowen, and how is that different to massage? Like, what does it involve?
So now this is the way I have taken it, because I think when you look at other people who talk about what they do, they might have a different explanation. But Tom Bowen, he was an Australian man, and he was basically just naturally a healer, and he went to all the like, he was really into sports, and he was working with people at sports grounds, helping athletes come off the field and repair something if they pulled a muscle, or, you know, so that was kind of that's where he enjoyed being. That's the thing that he liked doing while he was working as a clerk in another industry.
Yeah.
So actually, I think that 2 of the people who mentored him had been to a shiatsu conference in the United States in the 1920s and come back with all this knowledge about shiatsu, which is Japanese reflexology massage, basically. And I think that he was picking stuff up from these guys, and really that's what I think it's based on, because when I look at shiatsu, it's just so similar. It is really like you're working over acupressure points. It's not as exhaustive as massage therapy. So massage, you know, you do get your clothes off and you get, you know, oil, or maybe not oil, but you're really very hands-on. And this is more like, I feel like it's reprogramming the body. So you're like just putting a little bit of information in, and then the body says, this is what I need to do to hydrate here, you know, fix that over there, and send all the right messages out. So it's very relaxing, it's very gentle, and it's really effective, because really it's just tapping into your own healing ability.
Wow. So you might be pressing on a point, and then are you getting like downloads yourself?
I do, yeah. I mean, I think that everybody who does work with another body is, you know, just naturally you are.
Yeah.
But of course, the more that you do it, the more that you receive. And I mean, I started in 2016, so it's been a wee while. But and I'm really open spiritually. Like I've just, like I just could fill up every day doing spiritual things.
Yeah.
So I think I was just right for it, and I get lots of downloads, I get lots of information. I just trust now and tell people exactly what's coming through. And that seems to be what you've got to do, because the more that you trust and pass the information on, the more they give you more information for the person. And often I don't know whether it means anything, but the person will feedback and let me know.
Wow, that's so powerful, isn't it?
Yeah, it's amazing. I love it, because I feel like we are, you know, I've always struggled with this thing of like, I need to do all my healing by myself. But obviously that's not true, because I need all these people to come in to my life so that I can, you know, see what I need and feel what I need within me. And then also I've met all these amazing healers along the way. So, you know, really, if I need something, I know I've got trusted people I can go to. And obviously we're supposed to do some things by ourselves, but we're here together. So we must be here to heal each other as well.
Yeah. Oh, that's so beautiful. I love that you said that. I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. There's some stuff, yes, we have to do it ourselves. And then there's some stuff where we're supposed to be supported by our people, you know, and we connect with those people, and it's such a blessing, isn't it?
Yeah. And sometimes you just can't see something for yourself, you know? And yeah, I'm doing a lot of deep healing work at the moment.
Oh, me too. I'm with you on that.
Always. And I'm just starting to kind of get a bit more perspective about why, because I really am, like, I totally believe that I have a galactic family, that I am connected to all these star people, that I came from the stars in a lifetime, and all these people around me. I've got stories that, that just fit, and they connect a whole lot of different people. And I think part of the reason that that's available to me is because I couldn't receive the love from other people in my life, because I'd experienced things that had maybe closed me down in a human way. But for some reason, I'm like, yeah, my star family just brings it in, and I can receive that, and I can see myself from a different perspective. And to lots of people, that's just madness. They just cannot get their heads around any of that.
Not
me.
Yeah.
And for me, it's just like, okay, for some reason I can receive that. But I've struggled a little bit with receiving just the earthly human love.
Yeah. And do you feel like that has been all for a purpose though?
Yeah, absolutely. I really think that, we come in to choose, we kind of choose the experience we're going to have. And more and more I'm feeling like, I don't want to see anybody have to go through anything and feel alone. And so I feel like that's why we choose some things, is not just for our soul growth, but to be part of the growth of the collective. And also, some of us will decide to cut off from other people because that's the experience we're having. But for me, I really feel like I'm in this with everybody else.
Yeah. And do you feel like it's always been that way for you? Or because when you were talking, I just got the word courageous come through while you were talking, like that's what you are?
Yep, I do. I think so. I've always been really motivated by other people's pain, or if I see something happening to somebody else, I will stand up and say something. But if it was me, I may not have. But and my children, my poor children, when they were little, there'd be things happening around us, and people would say nothing, and I would be like, "You can't do that." Taking on some angry man, and probably putting them in a terrible situation. But just, if I see injustice, then I just know that people won't say anything. And I hate the feeling of when you don't say something and you should have. So I'd much rather, poke my nose in, and even if it's just a couple of words, rather than sit there and think, I could have done something about that.
Yeah. I fully feel that with you. When you were saying that, I was remembering there was some school kids walking home one night, and one of them was picking on the other one. I just like run out the front. Like, what are you doing? I'm like, that crazy woman. Be nice. There's no need for that. I'm like, who am I? But you just like, you don't want people to be in pain if it's unnecessary shit, isn't it?
Yeah, and and there is that thing, as I get older, I start to go, oh my God, like I'm going to be one of those Karens on YouTube, and I'll be like, why does she think she has to get involved? And I really don't. I don't actually, seek things out. It doesn't actually happen around me as much anymore.
No.
But yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm kind of pleased. I'm pleased that my kids saw some of that, so that they know. And my children do amazing things. Like if they see something, they will step in. And so I'm really proud of them for that.
Yeah. And they learn. I mean, they learn from their parents, and that's a beautiful gift that you've passed on. That's incredible. And that's courageous. That's a courage that they will have that is just going to be instinctual for them. And I just think that's so incredible. Now, you just spoke about your galactic family, and I feel like some people will be going, tell us more, Sarah. So please tell us more.
Wow. I mean, it gets so complicated because some stories are mine and some actually belong in part to other people. So I have to be mindful of that. But
Mhm.
okay, so what I feel like is my original story, which is really surprising to me as well, came through in a channel from one of my clients, but actually it came through in parts. I had meditations and visions much earlier than that, which showed me that there was some truth to it. So I think that I started out as a midwife on a planet called Maldives. And then of course, that's not the beginning. It's just where I can connect to that part. Yeah. And that I was the midwife for the queen on that planet having a baby as the war outside was raging just before the planet was destroyed. So the baby came, they gave me the baby and said, take the baby. And then we flew off in a spaceship. And as we flew off, the planet exploded. And then in a totally different meditation later, I saw myself going out with 3 Māori grandmothers, or Waitaha, so not Māori, but Waitaha, which are the people kind of before Māori here.
Okay, yeah.
And going to Castle Hill, place that we were talking about in the Arthur's Pass in the South Island.
Yes, yeah.
And I was taken out as a young midwife to receive this baby, but there's 2 parts to this, because I feel like I came into that person, but she didn't stay. So it's kind of a walk-in situation.
A walk-in, yeah.
So I was taken out to receive this baby that was being born.
Through you, or from
somebody else, yeah.
Through somebody else, yeah, gotcha.
Another woman who I feel like was the sister of the young midwife.
Mm-hmm.
And that the baby was born, the mother then bled and died, and then somehow the baby that came in was the baby that was coming through from the other place, and I came in to that young midwife's body as the midwife from the other place. So, wow. I mean, it's super weird.
Well, I mean, to some maybe, but like to me, I'm just like, okay, so that was it part of your soul that came in, or do you like, it was like I
think so. I don't, because I mean, I don't know how complete any soul fragment is, in a body, because I feel like we're in so many different places at the same time.
Yes.
But anyway, so that the other part of this is that the midwife in Maldek was actually a mantid being. Oh. So I believe that I was a mantid being.
They're the really tall ones, aren't they? With the long...
Yeah, like a praying mantis.
Yes. Have you got really long arms?
No. I'm a short little thing. You'll find that.
Oh, wow. Okay. So keep going. Sorry.
So, and so, that was another part of the story. And then there's a whole lot to do with that baby being a really important kind of leader, and actually that she grew up and became I don't really have that part of the story. It's still quite open there, but that she was actually like an engineer, like an alchemist almost in Atlantis.
Mm-hmm.
And she worked with the crystals. She knew how to use the energies of the water and the air, and she could do all these amazing things. And then she was actually told that there was danger coming, and that the people who were controlling Atlantis were going to take over, and that they had a totally different agenda. And she had this great love for women and humanity, and so the women really loved her too. And so as she was escaping, what happened is all the women of the places that she walked through would walk with her, and they would cloak her in an energetic way. They would cloak her so that she couldn't be seen, And as they walked with her, they'd go into all these different lands. It's almost like through mountains into arcs. You know, I don't even know how, but kind of crossed the whole world. And the last crossing was in a waka, which is a boat, or maybe, I mean, I say boat, but it could be something different. And the last bit was to come back to New Zealand and to arrive on the shores and be taken back to Castle Hill to be returned to her star home. And her name was Maya. And one of the stars in the Pleiades is called Maya. And then we've got the Mayans. And so there's all these really massive things that have to do with this one story. And I have met so many people. I've met people who say, you know, I was on the spaceship when they were going to press the button to send the missile in to blow up the planet.
Really?
Yeah. And I've got another woman who said, after kind of hearing some of that story, she said that she has a memory of being born out of an egg underground, and the person who cared for her was a mantid. And I'm like, yeah, I think that was
you.
I think so.
Wow.
So there's all these really, you know, amazing stories. And I get a lot of my clients who come in and have their hypnosis sessions, and they have some of these connections too. So it's a really massive story. It kind of, there's a few entities or beings that have kind of big names, and I'm just not going there because people have this weird ownership about things, and no, it's not really the point. It doesn't matter who they were. It's about what they represent, because this is the life we're here to live. But for some reason, those stories are really helpful for us in this life to understand what's going on right now.
Absolutely. And you wouldn't be recalling them if it wasn't important, because of the millions of lifetimes we would have already lived. So you're connecting with what is important. So from that, what do you feel like? Because I can feel that you will have more come in, no doubt, with that story. But what do you feel like is the message right now from what you've received from the story?
So one of the things that I didn't mention was that when the women walked with Maya, it felt like they were hiding the gifts and knowledge and wisdom of the divine feminine into the earth. So it was like they were dropping it into the soil, and it would be locked away to be returned when the time was right. So I feel like part of it is that the time is now right for us to receive this beautiful wisdom that was carried by the woman, but is for the divine feminine in us all. So that's, to me, that's probably the most important part. Like there's, for me, personal connections with people in that story, which tell me that I'm in the right place and I'm here with them for some reason, you know, for some other reason, because we're not in that life anymore. But yeah, I think it's really about returning to our real wisdom, our real connection with the earth, knowing our true power about how to use energy, and yeah, just actually undoing all of that trauma programming that was put on us.
Yeah. And I feel like that is the really big thing at the moment, the undoing of the trauma. And I think there's a lot of us that are doing a lot of deep work at the moment. And my word for the day/year is just big. Do you feel that too?
Yeah, I do. And because I'm doing it myself.
Yeah.
You know, like in the last couple of months, I've started to really go deeper.
Yeah.
And actually just out of sheer desperation at one point, because the emotional reality of what was happening within me was actually stopping me from being able to just get on with normal interaction.
Yeah.
So I do, yeah, I think we're really called to go another layer deeper.
Yeah.
It feels like the deepest layer we can possibly go to.
Yeah, it does. And I fully resonate with you with that. Like I fully do. It does feel like the deepest, and it feels like we've been doing a lot of work to get to this point, and it does take so much courage. So I want to honor you for that, because I know that it's big.
Thank you. I want to honor you too, because I can see that it's not just me, it's so many of us. And, and I really just want to put in here that I really want to honor Rachel Bourne, because somehow she has had this courage to, be outspoken and use her voice to do something really important. And she's brought all these amazing people out, and she's actually encouraged us all to go that little bit further and to get there. And I'm working with Jeanette Archer. She's the one that's helping me go through some of the stuff that I'm doing.
Me too.
Oh, yeah. Well, great. Yeah. So these amazing, brave women who have been able to stand up and speak out, and, it's, they know about talking about things that people cannot accept.
Yeah.
So me talking about, my crazy visions and meditations and channels and whatever's coming through, it's not such a big leap when you see other people who are willing to put themselves out there. And it really doesn't matter either whether you believe something for yourself to be true. It's just making space to listen that other people have a story to share. And one of the things that came through before 2020 was it's time to start listening to the people who have been victims of things, like stop shutting them down.
Yes.
And that's definitely how I came to kind of connect and with people like Rachel. And Jeanette was like suddenly going, I just have to hear this, even if I don't like it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, those people, Rachel, Jeanette, Max, Kathy O'Brien, Annika, all these people I've been listening to for quite some time now, and I just find so much strength within them and this warrior spirit that's just freaking epic. And to me, they are just light warriors, but that's not even enough to describe how incredible these people are. And I'm with you on that, because they have been through the most heinous shit, and there they are, helping and supporting others. To me, that is just beyond phenomenal, Yeah. So I'm so with you on that. So, and yeah, it's again, it's big. It's big, but we're doing it. We're rolling up our sleeves and we're like, let's do this, baby. It's game on.
Yeah.
It's game on. And it's giving love to yourself as well, and really honoring yourself for what you've been through, and giving yourself the love that maybe you didn't receive, or that you needed at certain times in your life. Do you feel that as well?
I do. And I do feel also that there's been a lot of love available, but for some reason I didn't see it.
Yeah.
There's things that now I kind of look at my grandparents and think, wow, you did so much to be here for me. And I just never even acknowledged it. I didn't realize how lucky I was to have that. So it's not always that the love wasn't there. It's just there was so much getting in the way of being able to receive it.
Yeah. Yeah. And in order for you to receive it, you needed to remove the blocks that you had within, because ultimately everything starts within, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Far out. Speak. One moment, please. So I'm so grateful that you're sharing all of this. It's just really special. So I really appreciate it. What do you feel, I guess, I mean, you've done so much work with the quantum healing as well. And I know that you would be privileged to hear many people's stories. And it's not, maybe for people who haven't actually done the QHHT before, maybe give them a bit of a rundown as to what that involves, because it is so powerful. And I would imagine, well, I would know that every single session could be completely different. Yeah.
It's a really big topic for me at the moment, because I'm really struggling with how I keep doing it when there's so much change happening and people are changing so quickly.
Yeah.
So it's all based on Dolores Cannon's work.
Mm-hmm.
And Dolores Cannon was, her husband started doing hypnosis sessions when he was in I think the military.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was the army, but anyway, that was kind of in the 60s, and they were, you know, doing that while they lived on base and with different people within that kind of area. But then her husband had an accident, and that all kind of stopped, and they raised their family. And then she came back to it later on. And so the hypnosis technique that I do is based on what she taught. Now, she passed away a while ago, but the school is still open, and it's run by her daughter.
Mm-hmm. Julia,
And
isn't it? Is it Julia?
yeah, Julia, yeah. And she's got her own beautiful, unique gifts.
Yes.
And I came into it during the lockdowns because I really had been interested in looking at hypnosis in a way to try and validate or look at some of the information that was coming through in channels that I was doing with some friends. Sometimes they were channeling, not me. And I just thought, imagine how much information we could get if we could go that little bit deeper. So I got the opportunity to learn it and jumped right in. And so it's just this beautiful process. For me, the difference is there's hypnosis where somebody will kind of go with you to a traumatic place in your life or in your memory, and then you could reprogram that. They could implant some different thoughts in. Like I tried it for stopping smoking years and years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy was like, imagine like a jar full of maggots every time you go to have a cigarette. It's like, okay, that kind of worked for a little bit, but of course I'm kind of, like no one is really going to be able to get in there and tell me what to think. So I was just like, well, I'm just not going to worry about that because it's not my idea.
Yeah.
So I think there's hypnosis that can be helpful in that way. For me, that's not the way I ever want to work. And it's not the way my brain works. So I can't have somebody else come in and tell me something.
Yes.
I have to do it, and I don't want to tell somebody else what to think or how to feel about something.
Yes, I'm so
it's such a beautiful process because it is basically guided relaxation. You go into a nice deep state of relaxation, and then I always feel like other people are going to listen to this and go, that's not how I would see it. But I feel like you go into this beautiful, relaxed state, and then you just let your imagination go forth. And it's really like having a daydream and speaking it out loud. And then you just follow where your imagination takes you, because it's like everything that's there has a meaning. It may not be a literal meaning, like you might see something and you might take it literally, but only you will know if it's a real description of something that's happened for you, or if it's just a kind of a metaphor. But regardless, what it does is it opens up a way of experiencing things so you can answer your own questions about why you've had the experiences you've had, or why you feel the way you do about something. And it's a very abstract kind of process, and you go through it, and then towards the end of it, you kind of go a little deeper again, and you start to speak directly to the subconscious, and the subconscious knows everything that there is to know about you and your life and your whole, lifetime of lives.
Yeah.
So you can kind of get information about anything, and you can also heal yourself of anything. The only thing that limits that is yourself. So if you come in and you have preconceived notions about what's possible, then you will be a little limited in how you go through it. But it does open the door for so much. So it's an amazing modality. I'm finding it's really interesting. People are so conscious of stuff that they weren't conscious of before. So, I believe people at the moment, you could just take them into a guided relaxation. They'll access past lives, future lives, whatever, and they don't really need a whole lot of prompting. But, you know, there's this thing about trying to make a connection with somebody where they really feel safe and really feel able to just drop their defenses. And so for me at the moment, I used to kind of follow it to the letter of the law and do what Dolores, you know, had stipulated. And I'm just starting now to go, you know what, I think for me, I need to spend a little more time with people. So I'm kind of breaking it up a little bit and having Zoom sessions with people beforehand and kind of opening it up so that we do what is needed to get them into the place that they're really comfortable to go forward, rather than just jumping in, because you just don't know what's going on for somebody from one day in their life.
Yeah, well, that's so true. And I know for me, like, I love that you do this, because it, for me, around 8 or 10 years ago is when I did my first few, and they were so powerful. And the person that I did it with, just an incredible woman. And we did a few sessions, and it was just so interesting seeing how it sort of all transpired. And like, it's that time before. So I love that you're incorporating the Zoom sessions as well. It's because we had that relationship, I guess we had that space as well, but just to work out, well, what are your questions? Because that would be part of it. Like, maybe someone comes to you and they've got some blocks or some things that they can't see, like, why do I keep hitting this brick wall? And I can imagine then, you know, you go to a life and you go, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense now. And it's not like you need to stay in that life, is it? You just, it gives you that little gold nugget and you go, oh, okay, I get it now. Okay, I can let that go, because that's what healing's all about. It's acknowledging it and then letting it go, isn't it? So you can move forward that next level.
Yeah, and for some reason, I mean, I'm noticing this in myself. For some reason, there's this terrifying feeling about addressing or looking at stuff, because the stuff that needs to be healed feels so scary. But it's like, as soon as you go there, it's this immense relief, because it's not that scary. As soon as you get to it and you acknowledge it, it's like, that was such a small thing, but in my head it was enormous. And, you know, I've held myself back because of that crazy little, I don't know, mind worm that's been going on for years.
Mind worm, I like that. But, you know, and the thing too, like, something that I always go back to is our subconscious mind will never show us anything we're not ready to see anyway. So we've got to remember that and trust ourselves to know that we'll always be okay in that sense, don't we?
Yeah, and I love that about Dolores Cannon's technique, because the principal element of it is that you only get the most appropriate things for you to see and understand at the time that you're coming in. So it's not a session where you come in and you go, I'm going to go straight to the most awful thing that's ever happened. And, you know, there's always a beautiful kind of meandering around things that will take you to what you need to deal with. And sometimes it's kind of taught like you only have to do the session once. But I'm starting to go, it puts a lot of pressure on people. And it puts a lot of pressure on me. So, and I think, you know, you get what you need at the time, and there'll be another time where you need something different. So people should never think that they can only do something once, or, you know, be tied into this, like, this idea of getting closure, right? Like, closure just isn't a thing, really. Like, it gives you perspective, so you can see it in a way that makes more sense for you in the time that you're at. But 20 years down the line, you just don't know what your perspective's going to be. So the closure thing is like, you can't hope to lose the memory of everything, because you went through an experience to have the wisdom to know how to work with yourself and to help other people.
Yeah, 100%. And that's why I always talk about layers as well. Like, it's just layers. There's just layers, and we're always just our essence, of course, not just our essence, like our essence, the phenomenal thing that we are. But those layers are there for us to pull away and become more of who we are. And that's part of us being on the planet at this time. Like, it is shedding those layers, taking them off, and just stepping more into our power. And I feel like that's why the word courageous is there, because that is the stuff that changes and shifts consciousness, isn't it? That's the stuff that raises the vibration of the planet, and not in an airy-fairy way, because it is the gritty stuff sometimes too, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. And I have this, this very wise man that I have come to know in the last few years. And he said to me that his guide had told him that you can't raise your vibration. This whole thing about raising your vibration. He said it's not a thing, because you are born with a certain frequency. And it took me a while. Like, I really sat with that for a few months. And now I'm starting to see what he means, because again, that thing with the ley lines about you can't raise the frequency in the ley line. It's actually, to me, making sense now that we are born as a baby with this beautiful, very unique frequency. And what happens is we just get layers and layers of shit on top of that. So we're not actually trying to raise our vibration. We're just trying to get all the shit off.
Yes.
So we can just be our vibration,
Yes.
like really shine in the frequency that we are.
And
I love that, because it's also like, it's not about being better or doing a better job or failing or anything like that. It's simply about allowing yourself to reveal more and more of who you are.
Yeah, I love that so much, because that feels so right, because when we remember who we are, we're remembering who we are without all that shit on top. Yeah. And part of us being here is just to get rid of the shit.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah, totally. And when you see a baby born, like, that's the thing with the original sin story. I've had this conversation with a few Christians, is you just cannot tell me that a baby is born with sin. There's just nothing. The only sin there is the fact that we forget who we are. And that's not a sin. That's just part of the process.
Yeah.
And, a baby just comes with its entire beingness, in this tiny little package. And like, they're so powerful. Look what they do to families where there's been, difficulty and disruption. Babies bring us together. So, to me, it's like there's no original sin except for the forgetting bit, which wasn't really a choice. It was just part of the, part of the process.
Yeah, that's so true, isn't it? It's so true. I mean, babies are just freaking awesome.
Yeah.
It's like they're just
You
like,
always, you see the best of people when they have, when babies come.
yeah.
People, I don't think I've ever seen anyone be a real asshole when their baby's born.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that they might be in lots of other ways.
Yes. Yeah.
There is something that brings out the truth of you when you see a baby come into the world.
Yeah. And your heart can just not expand, can it? You're just like, I'm just looking at pure love right now. Like, it's just it's the most beautiful thing, and you can't put it in a box. You can't anything. It's just, there's no words for it, is there?
Yeah. And look how we do that, like, we love puppies, we love kittens. We can see it in any baby of any kind of description. Maggots might be a little tough, but poor little maggots.
Poor little maggots, baby maggots. Oh.
But, there's just something there's just a magic about life and how it starts.
Yeah. And I feel like for us, as I guess humanity as a collective, is to step more into that spirit of the baby, of the love. And the more that we can bring that to ourselves as well, that love that we can give a baby, give to ourselves, won't that make a difference?
Yeah. That inner child stuff is really, I'm really kind of appreciating a bit more why that's so important. I know that it can feel really twee to people who just are like, I think when you go straight in with it, if you're in therapy or something and somebody goes straight into the inner child stuff, you can, there's a lot of resistance there.
Yes. Yeah.
But truthfully, we did have, we had this connection to source and to who we are and to all our people in our lives when we were a child. And it's all the stuff that happens through the process of life that gets in the way of that. So I'm really kind of going, have to be a bit, more open to that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And I, because that's true, because some people go, oh, love your inner child. They might be like, yeah, whatever. But really, have you spent some time with your younger self? And it's really interesting if you allow yourself the space. It's very, very powerful. Very powerful. Yeah. Absolutely. Now, keeping an eye on time. So now, I'm just looking at my notes here. Well, basically the intro of awesomeness, because you've just done so many epic things. You are an amazing singer, and you have a very special gift. And before we started, we were talking about I can't pronounce it.
The Algonquin water song.
Thank you. Which maybe I can share it at the end or something like that. I don't know. But I just heard you sing this, and I'll get you to tell how it works. But I was like, okay. And you wrote down the words and everything, and I got it. I sent myself an email with it in, printed it off, and I've got it sitting here, and I've had it this whole entire time. I'm like, I can't wait to meet Sarah so we can just sing this together, which was just awesome. So thank you. Can you tell people what I'm rabbiting on about, please?
Yeah, I'm always worried that I'm very, sometimes I don't get things exactly right. So apologies to anyone if I don't get this exactly right. But the Algonquin tribe, which I believe is a tribe from the east coast of North America, the water song was a song for the women to sing to the water as a blessing and a thank you for all that water brings. And I think it really speaks to the consciousness of water and, the amazing information that's available about what water does, and, that we are made up of so much in ourselves. So giving thanks and acknowledging that kind of incredible primal force is a really beautiful way to connect with the earth. I'm getting such a massive head rush when I talk about this because it's really powerful. And so I just came across it on YouTube, and it was said that this water song was for the women, but it was also a gift from the Algonquin tribe to all people or all women to use and to take forward. And I just loved that it was made available as a gift. And part of learning to receive is being able to take those gifts and use them. So I was using the song to just try and bless and acknowledge every place that I went to. I actually did lots of traveling last year, so everywhere that I went to, I would sing to the water. I think the process is you always start with singing to the east. You sing 4 times, so you sing to every direction. And I'm not sure, I know I start with the east, I finish with the west, but I'm not sure where I go in between. I just do whatever.
You follow your intuition.
And sometimes I do it the wrong way around.
Yeah, it'll be fine. It'll be fine.
But yeah, and so as part of the Lay Love Down project by Rachel Vaughan and Ben Hawkes, they just opened the door to really using song and voice to really heal the earth. And I was already using this song when I was traveling last year. And so now I'm like, oh, this is such a beautiful way to do that. And so now, on the equinox and the solstice, I just make sure that I get to a place and sing that song. And so the thing that you saw was me recording myself up on Mount Roskill a mountain not too far from me. Literally, I was on my way to the supermarket and I just saw that I was right next to the mountain and thought I should run up there and do this. And the sun was kind of coming up. So it was this beautiful moment.
Yes.
But yeah, so that's what the song is, and it's a gift there for everybody. And we could just put a link into the original video that I found, if people want to learn it, because it's just why not? If you don't mind being a little bit, weird on the mountaintop and having people, or wherever you are. And that is another thing. You can do it wherever you are. I do it in the shower most mornings.
Yeah.
And just try and take that moment to send something good out, because anyone who's feeling anything knows that there's a lot of stuff that's put on us that's not good. And if we're going to make this world new and better, then we better start putting exactly what we want out there. And if we can do it with a song or a dance or whatever.
Yeah,
let's
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, I'm so grateful that you're sharing that story, and also the Leyline project as well that Rachel and Ben are doing, and that everyone is a part of. It's just it's there for everyone. The ley lines are all over the world, and all we need is that loving intention when we're doing it. I mean, and that is probably one of the biggest keys, really, because our intention is so potent and powerful. So even if we can't sing, we can dance, or we can sing anyway from that place of intention and love. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? And that makes a difference, doesn't it?
It does. And it's such an adventure. Like that idea has opened me up so much that now I am just going and having these amazing adventures, even if it's just an hour or two or not even that. But, I'm finding these really sacred places that, they're not hidden. They're out there if you know where to look.
Yeah.
But I'm taking a bit more time to go out and explore and be in those spaces, and, being really intentional about what I'm bringing into the world. And I know that, I mean, my husband doesn't want to, well, I don't even know if he knows what I'm doing. He loves the water song. He likes that I do that. But, I don't need somebody else to come with me. I can do that on my own. But when I do get to do things with other people, it's just so much more amazing, the magic that comes in by sharing with heaps of people, that stuff. And that's what I'm really looking forward to, the winter solstice, because I really want to see a big group of people where I am come together. And I know that you guys are going to be doing it in Australia and in the UK and just all around the world.
It's going to be so special. And like even with that too, like we were sort of saying before, like we'll have that special time in that event, but we can do it anytime too. It doesn't matter, because it's timeless, really, isn't it?
Yeah, and you can do it in your backyard, like just sing to the earth that you're on, because where you live, it's obvious it's called you there.
Yes.
Even if it doesn't feel like it's a place you want to be forever, just send the intention for the healing and the best stuff to come through in that land. And, you're doing your bit.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's awesome. Now I'm keeping an eye on time because I know you have a client soon. So with that in mind, thank you so much for being here. But before we go, is there anything else on your heart that you want to share, or at all?
Well, no. I think so. I think that I'm just really grateful for having the opportunity to connect with you. And, I'm really amazed that I'm actually having these conversations with people, because it's actually a bit nerve-wracking sometimes to share this stuff. I know that I can share it in some circles, but I wouldn't do it everywhere usually.
Yeah.
So thank you for giving me the opportunity to be a little braver. I like that there's actually a whole physiological response to being brave when you speak out. And so it actually improves your immune system. So I guess that's on my heart, to ask other people to be brave and speak from their heart, and then reap the benefits of that for themselves.
Oh, love that. That is big. Thank you. Thank you for saying that. How can people find you, Sarah?
Well, I'll give you the link to my website. So that's www.bowentherapyauckland.com. And my website's the best way to get in touch with me. And there's links there to a YouTube channel where I've got meditations. But yeah, anyone that wants to talk about things, if they've connected with the story that I shared, then I would love to have that conversation. And anyone that wants to work with me in any way, I'd be really happy to receive your message.
Awesome. And people can book online if they're not in New Zealand, of course. Yes.
Yeah, they can. I've just, I've kind of set it up that I can take bookings so that we can work on Zoom. There's things that I can do on Zoom that I can't do in person and vice versa. So there's just no limits, I don't think. If you want to, connect, let's connect.
Oh, that's awesome. That's so good. Well, I would like to take this opportunity to thank you from the bottom of my heart, Sarah, for being here. Thank you so, so much. I also want to thank you at home for being here as well. I so appreciate you being here with us. I hope you have loved this conversation as much as I have, and I hope Sarah has too. It's just been so awesome. So as always, please go ahead, share, like, comment, give a rating, all that fun stuff. Check out the description for all the links to Sarah, for all the stuff that I've got on offer as well. That's all in there too. So thank you as always for being here. And yeah, thank you again, Sarah, just for sharing your heart, your story, and just your wisdom with us today. I so appreciate you.
Thank you. You too.
Aki miskwi nibi wabo. Hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey. Hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, ho. Nibi wabo and I am. Aki miskwi nibi wabo. Hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey. Hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, ho. Mount Eden in the distance, among the fowl. Nibi wabo and I am. Aki miskwi nibi wabo. Hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey. Hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, ho. Nibi wabo and I am. Aki miskwi nibi wabo. Hey ya, hey